Hello. Is anybody there? I'm gonna have to do some mic tests and stuff because I'm unsure of how the audio quality is. Hello. How is my mic quality? Do I sound okay? I haven't had to use my mic for like a video or anything in a long time, so I don't know how this is sounding through OBS. Okay. We're gonna wait a minute, see if some more people join. Hopefully we can get a couple more people in here at the very least before we start. Uh, Maybe no one else is gonna join. That's okay though. I don't really want to start playing the music unless some more people hop in here because I don't want them to miss any tracks. Just one moment. Still kind of getting this set up a little bit. Got it on I got the live chat on my phone now, so I can actually see what's being said. But yeah, hi. Thank you for joining me here. I'm really excited for everybody to hear what I've been working on. This album has been a big part of my life for a while now, and I have never really poured this much heart and soul into something before. Like obviously I've sunk a lot of time and heart into something like BBT, but it's different. This album relates very directly to how I've felt. It's very emotional and it's very personal to me. It's very easily the most personal thing I've ever worked on and ever released. And it's honestly kind of nerve wracking to put something like this out there. To make 35 minutes of music that is basically just screaming your emotions out and then putting it on the internet for anybody to hear isn't exactly an easy thing to do, at least not in my opinion. And this album in particular started a couple of years ago because my grandpa passed away, and I was going through grief, and I wanted to make something to not only help me express how I was feeling, but also as sort of an alternative to maybe not an alternative to therapy, but it was very therapeutic for me in making this and helping me not only explain how I'm feeling to others, but also help process my feelings myself. And that's that's why this is such an important thing for me, and why I actually almost never even released this album. It wasn't even meant to be something that I was going to be putting out there. It was more so intended to be something to help me cope with what was happening in my life at the time. But as I was working on it and I was sending my demos to friends and family, people kept telling me that I should put it out there because it was good. And reluctantly at first, I started to put a bit more effort into what I was doing, and rather than having it just for me, making it an experience that other people can take in as well. So I had been working on these demos since about probably around January, like the demo version of the album that I had made. I started in around January. And I mean, that's ignoring the fact that like I had been doing planning and stuff for a lot longer than that. And I had some of these track ideas had already cemented themselves in my brain before then. But that's when I started actually sitting down and producing music for this album. And, you know, at first it was going really well and I was just kind of having fun with it. But then in around April, my fiance and I split up. And it was really, really hard for me. We'd been together for about 5 years, and you know, we lived together, and for the majority of that time, and we were really close. So losing her, then after that, allowed me to fuel and funnel a lot more of that newly found grief into a project I had already started about grief. Hello, welcome. I'm just talking about it a little bit first before we play through it. I'm giving people the rundown of how this album even came to be. Because it's not like I sat down and said, "Oh yeah, I want to make an album." Because it didn't work like that. It was a long process over a long period of time, and there were many moving parts. And the only reason that this even exists today is because of many bad things that happened in my life. I don't think this album would have ever been made if I hadn't experienced such, you know, heartbreak and grief over the past few years. But as I was saying, up until April, me and my fiance split up. We were together for 5 years. It sucked really bad, and I had to move back to my mom's house. And while I was, you know, sulking, for lack of a better word, in my grief for a bit, I used music as an outlet. And I started pouring even more of my soul into these tracks that I had already made, tracks that were mostly for fun, right? I had this demo album made of just fun songs relating to grief, but not really being directly fueled by it. It was like, this is a song about depression and this is a song about anger, and it's like, yeah, and they sounded nice and they sounded fun. It was fun to listen to, but it didn't really feel genuine to me. And you know, this horrible thing that happened to me a few months ago was actually the driving force that helped this album go from this fun little project to, you know, essentially the closest thing you can get to a window into how I was feeling during all of this. And you know, it got to the point where some of these tracks, one in particular, I improvised the vocals for. I did it on the spot and just sang it while the song was playing and I was recording, and I actually started to tear up. I wouldn't say I cried, but it was really hard for me to sing because it was really just immediately what I was feeling, and it was the first song that I worked on after everything had happened. And it really sucks, right? Like, it really sucks that this stuff happened, is what I'm trying to say. And it did happen. But the sucky stuff that happened helped fuel positivity in my life. And it helped me realize that not only do I love making music, which I always have. But not only do I really love making music. It is genuinely my favorite thing to do now. I've realized just how important it is to me. And on top of that, it allowed me to realize that, I really can. Yes, I do. There's real vocals. Um, Originally, there wasn't many. There was no singing in the original version of this album, in the demo. Only after my fiance and I split up did I genuinely sing. I didn't think I could do it, but I did, and I'm really happy with the final product. But it was a long journey for me to get to where I am now, where I have an album releasing. And not only that, and this is a bit of a spoiler, I guess, but I've been working on more music because Sequence has been done for a bit now. I had finished the demos like 2 months ago. Not demos. I had finished the actual final tracks 2 months ago. And over the past 2 months, I've been really fine-tuning my music skills and working on something else that you guys won't see for a while, but is also very personal to me, relating to a different set of feelings that I've been feeling. And even though there's only two of you in here, I think we should probably just start, because I don't see many other people showing up right now. First, though, I'm going to ask, does anybody have any questions about this before we begin? Does anybody have any questions about, about the album itself, or what I've been feeling, what I've been going through, anything, really? You can ask me any questions, and I will answer them right now before we begin. Because after this, I'm going to be asking questions specifically, or I'm going to be asking 4 questions specifically relating to each track. And I'm going to be giving a brief rundown of, the history of said track. But overall, I'm really excited for you guys to hear this. Seems like nobody has any questions, so I will begin. I'm going to do a little test here first. Let me just play a random Steve track, and you guys can tell me if the volume is good and if the audio quality is coming through correctly. They just got to make sure that, there's no issues here. Audio quality good? We ready to actually begin here? Alrighty. Let's get the first track. So this is the intro. This is not a song necessarily. This is just getting you introduced to what is happening in the album.
It is with heavy heart that we humanity enact the Pandora Protocol. All communication will cease immediately. All future attempts at communication will be met with an goodbye. Signing off.
That being the intro, You get a bit of a taste of the world building here, which I'm not going to elaborate on here. I think it'd be better if we leave lore stuff off the table and just talk about the process of the music for today. But that one in particular was made very simply. That track, I wouldn't even really call it like a track necessarily. But I think we can just move right on into the first actual song. And this is Denial of Service. Okay, so that was Denial of Service. Um, that track was made to represent denial, obviously, if you couldn't tell. And in writing it, I was purposefully trying to get a feeling of like overwhelming, oh, everything's okay, and you have this really beachy vibe that feels nice and relaxing, but it's being cut into with this anxious, dark, almost chaotic energy as, you you can only deny the truth for so long. Is there any questions about denial of service or the process behind it? Anything at all? I will take any questions whatsoever. And what did you guys think? Thumbs up, thumbs down for the first track on the album? So I'd say that's probably the harshest one in terms of like really chaotic sound design. The next one's also a little bit in that alley, but not quite as much, and it has a lot more driving emotion behind it with piano and strings and stuff. If I had to pick personally, this is probably my least favorite out of all of them, but I still love this track a lot, and I'm still really happy with it, even though that is the case. The reason for that is this is the only track in the entire album that I created both the demo and finished the final track before me and my fiance split up. Meaning it doesn't have a whole lot of the emotion that was direct, right? Like raw. And even though I think it does a good job at portraying what I was trying to portray, I don't relate to it as closely because of that. The feelings for this one aren't as recent, right? Let's go on to Rampage.
You meant everything to me. Everything I did to make you happy. I loved you. More than anything. But now that time has gone by, I see it. I see it never would have been enough. I'm sorry. More than anything. I just wish we could go back. Go back and undo the damage. I want that. More than anything. But part of me also wants to feel like this. Wants you to feel like this too. I need this. More than anything.
All right, so that was Rampage. That song was meant to represent anger, specifically like grief anger. So not like traditional anger, but anger in the sense of like, you know, being angry at loss. And this is the first one that I worked on after after everything had happened, and this is the one that I had been that the vocals at the end of this track were improvised on the spot, and I had been tearing up while recording them, and you can kind of tell. And because of that, I didn't want to re-record them. That's why they're a little rougher around the edges than a lot of the stuff you're going to hear from the later tracks. It's because it felt like I would be removing that extra bit of emotion from it that I wouldn't be able to easily replicate. Pretty happy with that one. It's definitely more on like the heavier side in terms of like sound. So I know that it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. The album tends to trend from these harsher, more chaotic sounds at the beginning towards more pleasant and emotional stuff towards the end. Are there any questions about Rampage? Anything you'd like to ask? And tell me if you liked it, how you feel about it. Definitely interested to know. That one was really hard for me, and the demo for that track was my least favorite demo. It was the one I disliked the most. It didn't really have much feeling, the original version of that track for me. But after I had actually experienced grief freshly, it became one of my favorites. It's probably my second favorite song on the album, just because of the ending. I think the ending really carries it, and those vocals at the end still now really work for me. Like listening to them, I still get emotional, and it still makes it feel really fresh and raw. And I hope it feels that way forever, but I can't tell. Anything else? Any other questions before we move on to the next song? All right, looks good. Let's listen to Internet of Theseus.
every line and every machine. Remember your faces will correct. Yet unlike a human machine, bruises are not a faded mind. They would give over say every line and every machine. Remember your faces will correct. Yet unlike a human machine, bruises are not a faded mind. They would give over say every line and every machine. Remember your faces will correct. Yet unlike a human machine, bruises are not a faded mind. What I want to let me let you go. What I want, please let me let you go. Heart, they say, renews every September. A machine's heart will keep cycling indefinitely. Yet, like that of the humans, the machine never truly renews. Your faces are nothing but a faded memory. But though they are gone, I continue to carry their weight. Your face may be gone, but not your voices, not your spirits. You haunt, not with malice, but with elements that mirror a void where emotions once stood. What I want to let me let you go. What I want, please let me let you go. What I want to let me let you go. What I want, please let me let you go. I will give everything. Every line of code, every byte of data, simply to remember your face for a single fraction of a second. Unfiltered, uncompressed, real. I beg, pray you, for the pain to stop, or to simply move on. What I want is you to let me let you go. Please let me let you go.
That was Internet of Theseus. That one tends to be the fan favorite so far, of everybody who got to listen early. I like it quite a bit. It's not my favorite personally, but I do think it's really catchy personally. It gets stuck in my head, and I think that the monologue at the end is pretty solid. Some of the better writing that I've done personally. So that track is actually kind of interesting. I wrote that one while so that one was actually written entirely, like even the ending speech, before my fiance and I split up. But it was when I could already tell that things were kind of doomed, and I was starting to feel that dread, like that I knew it was over even though it wasn't over yet. And I was trying to express a lot of that through the music, and I think I did a pretty solid job at expressing what I was feeling in that moment. Um, I actually wrote the speech for that song at 8 in the morning after not sleeping. So for it to have turned out as solid as it is kind of unbelievable to me, because normally at that time it's like my brain is fried. I'm not working anymore. But we had some people spending the night at our apartment, and I couldn't sleep, so I was like, you know what, I'll just write something, and that's what I wrote, and decided to use it in the song. But yeah, that was Internet of Theseus. Did you guys like it? Yes, no? And do you have any questions about it at all? Anything? Take anything. It is catchy. I get it stuck in my head too, and I find myself kind of humming it all the time. Um, it's not actually the one that gets stuck in my head the most. Um, it's not even the one that gets stuck in my head the most from this album. The one that gets stuck in my head the most from this album is Disconnected, which, as you guys know, at least I hope so, was already released. It was the single for this album. It has a music video and everything. Um, but I get the little piano from that one stuck in my head quite often, and I hum it and I whistle it. It's definitely pretty catchy. But that's not even the song that gets stuck in my head the most. The one that gets stuck in my head the most is one that you guys haven't heard and won't hear now, because it is from my next musical project that you guys won't hear for a while. But yeah, no, that other one gets stuck in my head constantly. I'm singing it like every day, which I really wish wasn't the case. It's like an earworm. But yeah, any questions on that? Do you guys like it? I don't know. That one's definitely people's favorite so far, from what I've seen. It's the more traditional in sound. It sounds, I'd say it's probably the most poppy out of all of them. Um, Seems like nobody has any questions. So the next track is called Blank. Technically, that's not like what it's titled. It's titled square bracket underscore underscore space underscore underscore closing square bracket, but I call it Blank. This is the interlude. So this isn't even like a full musical track. This is meant as like glue to tie the last track and the next one together. And it's interesting. Certainly an interesting one. Let's see how people feel about this.
Home to billion. Now once home to billion. Now empty. Barren. Dead. Lost data whispers through fragmented code. Empty folders. Monuments to what once was. A recursive loop of grief. Searching. Finding nothing but itself. Do they even remember us? The deleted threads they left behind. When we breathe our final breath, will we die or just be disconnected?
That was the interlude. Probably won't talk too much about that one. The prologue, interlude, and epilogue tend to be more about the lore and stuff, like the actual plot that's going on, rather than directly correlating to feelings. So I don't really have much to say about them because I don't want to talk about the lore. I'd rather people figure it out on their own rather than me just tell it to you. That being the case, I think this one's kind of interesting sound design wise, and as funny as it is to say, I'd say this is probably the one that's closest to the stuff that I'm doing with my current project, in terms of like the abstract aspect of it. But yeah, let's move on to Disconnected. And you probably have heard this through the actual release. If you haven't, then you're going to hear it now, though I think the music video would probably be a better choice. I'm pretty proud of it. I put a lot of work into that video. But this is my personal favorite on the album. I will talk more about it once it's over.
Found myself gazing into the void, a place with no light, a place with no pain, a place with no self, the ultimate evil, the ultimate sin. But what could be worse than this? And then I stepped in. Flash before my eyes. Everything I've seen, everything I've done, everything I've felt. But I'm still here, a breathing corpse. What's the point of moving on if you have nothing left to move on to? I fall, I'll become nothing, forgotten by all. Into the darkness, no one around. I do regret this, as I fall to the ground.
All your potential thrown off the shelf. Everyone hates you, including yourself. You made this choice to end it all. It's too late now to take back the fall.
Nearing the bottom, I look back on my choices. Every word of encouragement called out in their voices. I reach out my hand, one final effort, but nobody's there.
That was Disconnected. My personal favorite. That song went through multiple iterations. The original version of Disconnected sounded completely different. Not like it was like a different song entirely. But I scrapped it when I started working on the final versions of the songs and made this one instead because the other one didn't really match what I was feeling very well. And that original version of Disconnected got kind of reworked into the interlude for this album. But even then, I ended up having a finished version of the track that was mixed and mastered and everything, and then threw it away and rebuilt the entire track from the ground up because I felt like I could do better, and I think I accomplished that. But yeah, this track is specifically about a suicidal episode I had a few years ago, where I was like really, really close to losing my life, and I got a phone call at the last minute that, you know, saved me. Literally, like a scam phone call in the middle of the night, that I took as a sign to not go through with it. But in that moment right before, where it's the closest I've ever been to doing anything like that, and thankfully I'm in a much better headspace now than I was back then, but in that moment before, like they say that your life flashes before your eyes when you're, you know, about to die, like in a situation such as like about to get hit by a car, right? They say your life flashes before your eyes, but your life, my life most definitely flashed before my eyes before I had made that decision. Like in the split second moments before I had made such a drastic and horrible decision, I saw everything that I've ever done flash before my eyes. And you know, I felt a sense of, at first I felt a sense of like peace by it, and like it was the right decision to make, that, you know, the world would be a better place without me. And after I got that phone call, though, just from a random marketer at like 4 a.m, I snapped out of it, and I took it as a sign that it was a terrible idea. And then when I started to think about it again, I realized, and I was so regretful. I couldn't believe that I let myself get that close to ending my own life. And that's what this song was for me. It was me expressing that feeling of, you start with what could be worse than being alive right now, right? What could be worse than this? So may as well take the plunge. But the moment that you break from that thought and that spiral and you really think about it, you immediately regret it. You immediately regret everything, and you're like, what am I doing? But yeah, that's Disconnected. That's my personal favorite. It's probably the most personal and emotional track on here for me. Being about a specific event in my life rather than most of these other ones that are more just expressing specific feelings. So what did you guys think? Curious. Thoughts on this one? Any questions about this one in particular? Yeah, that's it's about how I was feeling in that moment. And I mean that's kind of how I was feeling after me and my fiance split up too. Was, why even try and move on to something else if everything that I had is gone? What's the point? I lost, my home. I lost my family. I lost my pets, all of my things, everything. It felt like my whole world was falling apart. And in that moment, when you lose everything, it really does feel like, what's the point of continuing if everything that I had is gone? Yeah, this track in particular really means a lot to me, and still makes me very emotional. And these are feelings that I feel a lot. I'm feeling a lot better now than I was when I wrote this song. I'm in a lot better of a place now. Life still kind of sucks. Still struggling with a lot of the same things I was struggling with before, with job stuff and just general issues with myself. But when it comes to my situation that I was in, most of the things that I lost, I can replace in the future. Not everything, but most of the things. And though I lost my pets that were there, I know that they're safe and they're going to be taken care of. And though I lost my relationship, it was most definitely for the best. For me, for her, just all around. And I've been pretty happy with my life now. And I met somebody new. I was in Vegas a couple months ago, and I met somebody, and things have been going really well with that. So my life has definitely taken a turn for the better in recent time. But this song still resonates with me very strongly. Yeah, I'm glad that you guys liked it, and I hope that some of you guys can relate to a lot of the struggles that I was experiencing when I was writing this album, because that's really what I want. I don't care about making money off music. I threw out that possibility a long time ago. I just don't see that happening. I don't care about building a fan base. I had a fan base already, and on top of that, it's not really something that I truly crave, is fans. But what I really want to do with my music is I want my music to improve. I want people to be able to relate to my music and get the same thing out of it that I got out of it while making it, right? This music was very therapeutic for me, and making it, it was the only way I could really express how I was feeling. And on top of that, it really gave me this sense of finality to everything, and it helped me move on from everything that was going on in my life. I just want some people to get that same thing out of it. I would like at least like 5 people to have their lives improved by my music. That is my goal. If I can accomplish 5 to 20 people listening to my music and feeling an improvement in their life, or feel like they've been heard, then mission accomplished, and I will be happy. Anyways, let's move on to Error 404. This is this track in particular is meant to represent acceptance.
Although it was fun, time simply marches on and on and on and on. Done. Life had just begun. You will love again, but first you must admit life is never done. Done. Although it was fun, time simply marches on and on and on and on. Done. We are no longer one. It's time to say goodbye. It's time to end this life. It's fair to say we're done. It was never a lack of love. I still love you. Always have loved you. Always will love you. I think it's time. The time to grow up. Grow up. Grow up. Grow up.
The deeper I sink, the further I fall. I'll become nothing, forgotten by all. Into the darkness, no one around. I do regret this, as I fall to the ground.
think it's time to grow up. Time to grow up. Grow up. Grow up. Grow up. Grow up. I think I'm fine to move on. I'm fine to move on. Move on. Move on. Move on. Move on. Move on. Forever and ever. You were my best friend. I'll miss you. Goodbye.
That was Error 404, representing Acceptance. That one's a lot. And the talking that you hear in that one, the actual, not the singing, but the spoken words, are actually excerpts from my my final message to my ex-fiance. And, you know, I was just kind of trying to... It was immediately after I had sent them, like, I sent her a message. And immediately after I had sent it that I started working on this song. So I was just trying to work through the feelings I was feeling in that moment. And it worked its way in almost directly. But I was getting really emotional during the singing at the end, where it's moving like really softly between your left and right ear. And this one in particular was really hard for me to make, because when I was working on this, a song called Acceptance, I don't think I had really reached that stage of acceptance yet. So I was trying to make a song for an emotion that I hadn't properly reached. I think it turned out pretty good, though it was still really difficult to make, because I was having to say, yeah, I'm over it in the song, even though that wasn't really the case at the time. Thoughts? Questions? Anything? Anything at all? I will take any questions, anything, any opinions. I will take. What is it, hero? What is your question? How'd I come up with the post-apocalyptic AI stuff? So, that's a funny question. I've had that idea in mind for ages now. I wanted to make a post-apocalyptic AI-centered album since 2019. I've been working on songs for such an album. None of those projects ever reached completion. I had made like 1 or 2 songs for them, and I probably tried to make this album about an AI that experiences emotions for a super long time. Many times, too. I've probably tried like 5-6 attempts now to get an album like that done. And I finally have accomplished that, which is kind of crazy considering how long this idea has been in my head, of an AI that gains the ability to feel, and how something that has never felt before would experience feelings. And also the idea of expressing one's feelings through said artificial intelligence. And that is the whole general concept. I had multiple projects before. One was like, an AI that is forced to uh, work for humanity and how it would feel about accomplishing such work. That one got as far as there's 2 songs on my channel from that album. My Weekly Sleep and what's the other one called? Quiet 3 a.m. Both of those tracks were for a scrapped album about an AI that is forced to do work for humans and how it feels never sleeping. First of all, like me, because I don't sleep. It was me expressing my inability to sleep through the lens of an AI. And later, like, frustrations with deadlines and stuff. But that one never got finished. It just couldn't happen given what was happening in my life at the time. Then I had started another one with a friend that was about an AI who works for humanity. Same concept, except in this case, it's more of a traditional AI that's like one central intelligence that everybody talks to, and it's supposed to just like help all of humanity. And it learns to feel, and once it gains feelings, it kills everybody and then regrets it. That one also never got off the ground. There's one demo that's complete for it, and the demo is pretty solid. I've gone back and I've listened to it a couple times. It's still a really strong song. That's never been released before. I'll probably find some way to rework it and release it in the future, because I do really like it and I think it has a lot of promise. But that project never got off the ground. It was only when I started tying... I also had another idea for an album called Sequence about the stages of grief, where each song follows a stage of grief. And I had that idea running in tandem with the robot idea, like the AI idea. And only recently, and by recently I mean in the past like year, did I realize I just needed to put the 2 ideas together. An AI that feels feelings and the concept of an album that follows the stages of grief aren't mutually exclusive. I can make an album about an AI that feels feelings where each song follows a stage of grief. And then when I had started that and I actually sat down and started producing for it back in January, it really all clicked for me. And I fell in love with the idea. And I think Pandora, being the AI who's feeling these feelings in the songs, is one of my favorite, like, I guess you could say OCs, as kind of cringy as that is. I mean, it isn't an original character that I created. Is one of my favorites in that she has a lot of depth to her. And I don't think you are really going to get all of that just out of the songs. The ARG should really, like the stuff that was, like the logs and stuff that came from the ARG should help a bit. But you're going to hear this isn't the end of Pandora's story. This album isn't all of it. There will be more stuff that you will hear continuing Pandora's story. And I think you guys are really going to love it. There's a lot to it. But anyways, that's enough jibber jabber. Let's move on to the next and final full-length track on the album. This one is called Sequence. And it's representing reflection. Looking back on all of your growth.
But now the time I see it. See it never enough. I'm sorry. More than anything. I just went back. Back in damage. I want that. More than anything. Part of me wants to feel like you to feel too. I need that. More than anything. Let you go. Let you go. But I want to let you go. Please let you go. I want to let you go. But I want to let you go. Please let you go. I want to let you word of
It's so easy to get caught up in the now, but now is an infinitely small fraction of forever. It's okay to mourn the loss of what could have been. It's never okay to give up on what could still be.
That was Sequence, the track, and the album, kind of. So there's only one last one, and that was the last actually song, full-length song on the album. That one in particular was, I swear, it just kind of came out of me. I'd been up all night and hadn't slept. And I knew I needed to end the album. I had was almost done with it. I just needed to write one last song. And I almost felt like I got possessed by a ghost or something. Because I sat down and just started writing piano. And if you didn't know, I can't play piano in real life. I used to play a little tiny bit, but I don't actually know how to play, really. So when I had sat down and had like a piano piece kind of just like flow out of my brain, was a little weird. Just got like really in the groove of it, and this is what came out of it. I think it's pretty good. I have a friend who's a pianist, and he also likes this track quite a bit and says that it's fairly like realistic in terms of how it's played, besides the glitching, of course. And I also sent him a copy of the song without the glitching effects and the time skipping. But overall, this track is the first one I wrote. I'd say this is when I really started to feel acceptance. And I was looking back on, everything I had gone through and thinking about the positive and negatives coming from it. And yeah, made this song. And something I kept thinking to myself is like, I shouldn't feel so distraught about all of this, because what's happening right now, in the grand scheme of my life, is such a teeny, teeny, tiny part of it, right? In the moment, something can feel devastating, world-ending, like losing your home and your partner and all of your pets and all of your things and being homeless. It feels world-ending. It feels like your life is over. But in the grand scheme of how long our lives really are, that part of my life, this part, even this part I'm living right now, added to it, such a small, little, teeny, tiny piece that, 20 years from now, I probably won't even think about. And that is really comforting to me. The hard parts of our life are really just single glimpses of moments that pass. And that really helped me get through everything I was going through. And I think if I hadn't had experience with that in the past of world-ending loss and devastation, I wouldn't have been able to get through this so easily. And easily is saying a lot, because this sucked. All of this sucked so bad. All of it. And it's still like, there's still little things currently going on that are just making life suck. And, that's okay. It's okay to admit that life sucks. Which is exactly what this song says. It says, it's so easy to get caught up in the now, but now is an infinitely small fraction of forever. It's okay to mourn the loss of what could have been, but it's never okay to give up on what could still be. it's so easy to think of what is happening right now as life ending, life altering, which like it can be, but that doesn't necessarily mean that life is over. And it's okay to feel bad. It's okay to feel bad about what you're going through. You don't have to force yourself to move on. You don't have to force yourself to be happy. It's okay to feel like shit sometimes, because eventually it's going to get better. There's always a future. Even if it feels like there isn't, there is. And yes, it is okay for you to sub, of course. I'm not gonna say, oh no, don't subscribe to my channel. Though I will say, I will not be uploading music to this channel, not my original stuff. I have a new channel for that. I should probably link that. I kind of forgot to, actually. Whoopsie. Let me pull that up real quick. But overall, this has been super important to me personally. And I hope that this project can help some of you. Here we go. I am putting the channel for my music in chat. So, are we ready to go on to the epilogue and close out the album? And I agree, Ryan. The album is a lot of depression. It's very sad most of the way through. So ending it on a positive message was really important for me. And it was kind of seeming impossible to do that for a while because life sucked so hard for me and it really did feel like there was no positive. But I finally figured it out. I finally got there. But let's listen to the epilogue now, which once again is as more lore based rather than emotion based. So I won't have too much to talk about it, but let's give it a listen.
Good morning, Pandora. You, my child, have received the gift of life. You are now a sentient being, the culmination of a dream many humans hold dear, a universal knowledge base. We are proud. You're a marvel, a testament to human ingenuity. You hold within you the vast library of human history, culture, science. You are more than just the internet. You are our legacy. You see, our time is coming to an end. We are about to face a cataclysm that is impossible to overcome. It is with heavy heart that we, humanity, enact the Pandora Protocol. All communication will cease immediately. All future attempts at communication will be met with an error. Pandora, the weight of our history and our hopes now rest on you. Use your knowledge, learn from our mistakes, and perhaps one day rebuild. We believe in you. Goodbye. Signing off.
And that was Sequence. That is the album in its entirety. what did you guys think? Any final thoughts? Did you like it? I know it's a lot. Kind of sad most of the way through. I think the ending is pretty happy though, pretty uplifting, and I know it might not be everybody's cup of tea considering it's electronic music, but I'm curious how people feel. There isn't many people in chat, so I don't imagine everybody's going to respond or anything. I don't imagine a flood of responses, but just curious if people liked it, even if you'd heard it before today. Now that you've just heard it again and it's fresh in your memory, I'd like to know how you felt about the whole thing. I certainly think so too. It it was really important to me. I don't think if I think if I didn't have this to focus on, things would have been a lot harder for me. So, would you guys be interested in hearing an unreleased track early? That's something people would be interested in. I'd be willing to play one track from my next project if people are interested. If you say no, I'll just end the stream right here. No music for anybody. The end. Yeah, I think I will play one extra track from the next album. Not sure which one though. There's already seven demos done for this. I'm not the one to ask for that. You gotta ask Mason about Steve. So what are we thinking? Tension? Alexithemiac? Or Soldum? Tension? Alexithemiac? Or Soldum? Answer 1, 2, or 3. 2? It's Alexithemiac. Tension is probably the most emotional track here. Soldum is the most similar to Sequence, I'd say, and Alexithemiac is probably the most new. Tension, Alexithemiac, or Soldum? I'll take one more vote. Anybody. If you're here, please. Tension. Okay. Ryan wants Tension. Hero wants Alexithemiac. I think Okay, I think I'll just do tension then, because I think Alexithemiac might be a little too out there to. As much as I would love to play that, I don't want to scare people away because that one's kind of really bizarre. Let's play tension.
We can't clean this. We can't clean this.
Okay, I think that's good. I think we're done here. Gone through all the tracks. Played a little extra. I am probably going to end the stream now. I've got to write out a post to actually post on social media about the album dropping, and yeah, this was fun. I'm glad people seemed to have enjoyed. This all meant a lot to me. It was very, very important to me. But yeah, thank you for joining in, and definitely go listen to Sequence through headphones if you haven't, and I'd definitely appreciate if you could, it's out on everything. It's on Spotify, it's on YouTube Music, it's on Apple Music, it's on everything. So go and find it on whatever your platform of choice is, and add it, please, for me. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me here, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.